All right, Rob, let's go here. The Lakers play tonight, late game, and against Phoenix. So you know that an L is probably coming their way. But LeBron James not playing in this game. And here's what's on the line, Rob. A play-in berth, I should say. If the Lakers lose and the Spurs win, the Spurs play the Nuggets. Now, that's a tough game to win, obviously. But if the Lakers lose and the Spurs win, it's over. There's no puncher's chance.
Right, it's done.
They're officially eliminated. All right. If it doesn't happen tonight, it seems like it's inevitable. But basically, 2 games. Their 2 games is the magic number. So if they lose tonight, Spurs win, it is over. And Rob, a lot of talk now, because even before they're mathematically eliminated, everybody knows they're done. LeBron, heck, may even know they're done. I do think he's legitimately hurt, and he would be playing. I think he deserves that benefit of the doubt. Well, Rob, even for those that even just think, even if they have a negative view of why LeBron's not playing, I think even those people would say, well, he does want the scoring title. Right. And he's still, Rob, you have to play a minimum of 58 games in an 82-game season.
So how many does he have?
To be eligible. He's got 56. So he needs to play 2 more games.
Two of the last 4, right? So after tonight, there'll only be 3, right?
Yes. So, I mean, he's got incentives to play. Obviously, he wants to make the play-in, but even beyond that, he's got incentives to play. And, Rob, if you don't play 58, if you're within, say, 3 games, what the league will do, like, let's say he plays 57, Rob. If they'll give him 0 points for the 58th game.
Right.
And if he's still the leading scorer with those 0 points for a game, he'll win the title, the scoring title. But I don't know that it's so close. He's at 30.3. Embiid's at 30.2. Giannis is at 30.1. So I don't think he could do that. So he's got all types of incentives to play for. But a lot of news surrounding the Lakers, Rob. Frank Vogel, there's a report now that he's going to be fired. I mean, that's not a surprise.
I mean, right. That ain't Chris. Right. Any reporter could throw that out there.
Right.
There's a chance.
Everybody knows that's coming.
You're going to be you have a great chance that you get it first. Right.
Right.
You have a great chance.
Absolutely. Here's an interesting thing, Rob. And look, I think more names would emerge, but these are the names, Rob, that are out there. The 2 most prominent, Quinn Snyder, who could be, there's a lot of talk he could be let go in Utah. Doc Rivers, who we know
Chris,
could
shocking.
be let go in Philadelphia. We'll get to that. Let me just throw out a few of the other names. Kurt Rambis. Come on. Really?
We know his wife has clout.
Kurt struggled. I know. Kurt struggled in Minnesota. He was a head coach already, and New York.
Right.
Mike Brown and Steve Clifford from the Magic, the old Magic coach. So, Rob, of those 5, I mean, and you start talking about Doc, and I hear you. I'm with you, but go ahead.
Of those 5, none of them. How's that?
It's an odd list because you're right. Nobody's jumping out at you.
Nobody jumped off that page.
I'm going to give you one that I actually think maybe would work, that I wouldn't be mad at. Mike Brown.
Really?
Yep. Mike Brown. Brown. Here's my argument for Mike Brown. Very successful coach, right? In Cleveland, got him to the NBA Finals in his second year. Okay, he had LeBron, but he didn't have Kyrie and Kevin Love with LeBron. He didn't have Wade and Bosh and Anthony Davis with LeBron. He had like Anderson Varejao, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, Eric Snow with LeBron. All right, so he was very successful. And even, Rob, after they got to the finals, they had a 66-game win season, regular season under Mike Brown, a 61 games winning season under Mike Brown. So I think Mike can coach. Now, people look back at the Lakers. Okay, let's look at the Lakers. He only lasted basically a year. But Rob, the year he was with the Lakers, and Rob G, it'd be interesting to hear his thoughts about Mike Brown. The year he was with the Lakers, I mean, technically, 2011, 2012, they went one game further than they went the year before with Phil Jackson. He took them 5 games in the second round. Phil Jackson the year before took them 4 games in the second round. Same team. Okay. And then he got fired. Remember, Rob, he got fired 5 games into the next year.
That's right. I do remember that they pulled the plug. Right.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Players, I heard Mike would, he was very defensive minded. He would lecture during practice, and guys were tired of that stuff. But Rob, he's been in Golden State now for 6 years as an assistant. I bet you he's learned a great deal from being with that team, playing in the finals, winning championships, learning from Steve Kerr, learning from veteran players. So of the guys that are named, let's put it that way, he would be, if those are my only 5, he would be my choice.
Choices you have.
That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. What about Fritz? How come he's not in the mix?
I mean, these are just some names reporters are throwing out, but yeah, I mean, Fizdale, you're talking about David Fizdale. I think he would probably, I think he'd probably be in the mix. And there was even talk that Phil Handy, who's another assistant on staff, could have taken over had Vogel gotten fired during the season. But Fizdale obviously struggled in New York, but who doesn't? Let's keep it real. Did a good job in Memphis. Really was only given a year and not even a year and a half there, but really good job his first year with them. Second year, they got off to a slow start, and he was gone. New York, I mean, again, he struggled, but who doesn't with the Knicks? The Lakers, Rob, they were 1-5, I believe, this year with Fizz when he filled in for Vogel.
It didn't turn things around, but they were bad, right?
Yeah, so I don't know if some of that may be in a factor. But Doc, tell about Doc, because I'm with you. Look, I don't know. You mentioned this about Philadelphia. How do you have that press conference?
We both were shocked. We thought that Doc would take Chris a year off after what had happened. He had Kawhi, he had Paul George. It was embarrassing, that loss to Denver. That was a team everybody loved.
3-1. Yep.
Thought that they were going to go to the NBA Finals that year. You remember, all year. The Clippers have the team put together.
Yep.
They had the Lakers number, the way they played them. Remember, the matchup, Chris, was in favor of the Clippers.
Yep.
And they choked it down, and then Doc is fired. And I thought, no way in hell will anybody introduce Doc Rivers, because it wasn't just that 3-1 choke job. He had like 3 or 4 others.
He's blown 3, I believe. Rob G, check it out, but I think it's 3 total. He's the only coach, I believe, ever to drop more than 1 3-1 lead in the playoffs. Yeah.
So I just, for the Lakers to introduce him after he get bounced it from the Clippers and then bounce from Philly, they're going to introduce him as coach?
Right. He's been fired from those 2 jobs.
Right. I don't understand that, because
teams with championship potential, they brought him in to win the championship and underachieved.
That doesn't make sense to me, Chris. I don't understand how that would work. I just, the Lakers introducing Doc after he had a bad stint in Philly and a bad stint with the Clippers.
I'm totally with you. I'm sorry. Even if you're like a Doc fan as a coach or what, how? I don't know how you do that and think that things are going to turn around. And so there's other news, Rob, regarding the Lakers, and Magic Johnson dropped some of it on Get Up yesterday. Here he is talking about how they could have had DeMar DeRozan.
Because DeRozan wanted to play for the Lakers. And when I got the call from his agent, I called the Lakers, said, hey, he wants to come home. And DeRozan could have been a Laker instead of a Bull. We could have made that deal. But when Russell and LeBron and them started talking, that's when they nixed that deal and went with Westbrook, and he became a Laker instead of DeRozan.
I'll just say this, Rob. Now, of course, DeRozan having this great year in Chicago, and they were playing really well early on. They're playing okay. They're still, they're going to be a playoff team. There were questions as to whether or not DeRozan would fit with LeBron.
Right.
Because DeRozan's not a three-point shooter. He's a
It wasn't
mid-range
automatic,
guy.
but it might have been a better fit than Westbrook.
Would have been better
Chris.
than Westbrook.
We all thought Westbrook wasn't a good fit. Am I right? I don't remember. I remember when that deal went down, we looked at each other and we talked on the show, and we both were like, no, we don't.
I thought it was a joke when I first heard that they were interested. It was like, what? Come on, that's ridiculous. DeRozan, there would have been questions. You're right. I'm sure it would have been better fit than Westbrook. But I think LeBron's thinking probably was this. Okay, neither one's a three-point shooter. They both like to play in the mid-range. But Russ can make plays as a playmaker more than DeMar.
I got that.
And if I'm out, Russ will be able to run the show and we can win games even with me out. I'm sure that was his thinking. Now, it turned out to be wrong. All right, I'm just saying that's probably,
and that's what
to
people
me, Rob,
thought when LeBron's not playing. Put Westbrook in, keep the energy, keep everything going. Exactly right.
So but I don't know. It would have been interesting. I'm not sure. Now, I think things would have gone better with DeMar, Rob, but I'm not sure it would have been like, I mean, they still would have had Anthony Davis hurt, LeBron hurt at times. I don't think they would have necessarily won a championship or something like that, or the West. That's not a match made in heaven either, but it certainly would have been better than this.